Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here, we're live. Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, as always, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. That way, you will never miss a notification like my man Papa Onaya Shell. You'll never miss a notification when you're following me on Telegram. You could avoid all the social media foolishness of YouTube, unsubscribe me, and yada, 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 all the nonsense that normally comes with doing this stuff, right? And with the introduction out of the way, let's get the live stream started. Let's get the show moving and rolling. I do want to address a comment from my man Papa Onaya Shelley off top before we really get into today's show. He said, I'm not going to lie, man. I need to see people catch charges already. Why the slow roll? I'm right there with you, and I feel the same way. There was something else that I was going to talk about, I think yesterday, but I didn't do it because I trust me when I say I'm right there with you, right? It was something else. I don't even remember what it was, but an investigation, and I was going to talk about it yesterday, and I just was like, investigation. You know what I mean? Like I'm right there with you. Like another investigation. You know what I mean? So like I ended up not doing it. And it's despite the fact that I had like a lot of other things to do yesterday too that like kind of compromised my time, so I wasn't able to get to it. But trust me when I say, man, I'm right there with you. But as it pertains to the slow roll, at the same time, I get it because when you take into account the amount of unreasonable scrutiny that the Trump administration is under concerning the mainstream media press, where they just have their microscope out and they're looking for anything. Just give me something, please. I get it. You got to kind of slow roll it a little bit, make sure all your I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed before you really start pulling the trigger on a lot of things that could shake things up as far as charges are concerned, especially when you're talking about prominent people, right? I mean, you see how things are turning out so far with what's the guy's name again? We've talked about him so many times. Kilmar Abrigo Garcia, right? I haven't had a chance to follow up with that. I should be going live tomorrow to follow up with that. I don't want to speak too much on it, but you see how, he was mistakenly deported and he shouldn't have been deported to El Salvador and yada, yada, yada. And Democrats feel like they have something with that. They don't. They don't. People generally don't really care about that situation concerning him because at the end of the day, he's still an illegal immigrant who's an MS-13 gang member that should have been deported. He just was not supposed to be deported to El Salvador. But like I said, when you the kind of amount of like ridiculous scrutiny that they're under, you just gotta slow roll it. And I get it. It can be frustrating at times, and it definitely is to me too, just like it is for a lot of people. But I do get it. I do get it. When you have the machine, right, which is the DNC machine, that basically runs media, and they're looking for anything that they can use against you. You just got to make sure everything is on point. So now if we're still at this point, if we get to the midterms, and like, we're still talking about investigations, now it's like, okay, man, you know what I'm saying? What's really going on? At that point, the economy better really be on point. You know what I mean? Because that'd be the only thing that really kind of would make it, you could say, okay, right? Let's be real. When you got some money in your pocket, that kind of helps solve everything, right? As far as feelings and concerns and things. If we're being honest about life, if the economy is where it's supposed to be, if the tariffs are tariffing, doing what they're supposed to do as far as bringing businesses back to the country, and people are working jobs and good paying jobs with all this manufacturing, and the money is flowing in house, people are buying American. If things are actually working out the way that they're supposed to, the closer we get to the midterms as it pertains to the economy, that will make the lack of charges not seem like such a big deal. You get what I'm saying? Because let's just be honest, we're all people, we're all human beings, and as long as your money is right, and Trump is the reason that your money is right, you're not going to really be tripping too hard about the charges. Let's be honest, right? But we still need to see him. That'll at least hold him over for the next 2 years. That'll get him over the midterm hump, right? That'll get him over the midterm hump. But if the economy isn't where it's supposed to be, and we're not getting charges either, yeah, I think we might have a rough midterm. It's gonna be a rough midterm. But anyways, I don't want to get derailed off the topic too much, but I did want to answer to what you were saying there. I didn't want to answer to that. So let's get the show started. Let's get it started. Let's get it moving, and let's get it rolling. What I want to do first, right, is we're going to get into Jasmine Crockett. Looks like there's a little bit of funny money going on as far as campaign funds are concerned, specifically campaign funds that were ran through ActBlue, right? That were ran through the DNC fundraising website ActBlue. Before we get into that, I want to preface the conversation with this article here first concerning ActBlue. Check this out. Where does the money come from? Elderly Democrats say donations made in their names aren't genuine. This appears to be a thing. It appears to be a problem. ActBlue, Papa and Shelley, is seemingly under investigation. Under investigation, as people are trying to figure out what's actually going on with ActBlue and the funny money rolling through there. But it looks as if they're taking advantage of their elderly community within the DNC, right? Check this out here. And this is very relevant to the main topic concerning what's happening with Jasmine Crockett right now. Democratic fundraising platform ActBlue may have raked in millions through fraudulent donations, according to the testimonies of elderly Americans who said federal election records do not reflect their giving. 18 registered Democrats in Connecticut, all over the age of 70, appear to have donated $1.9 million to Democratic causes, including ActBlue, through hundreds of thousands of small donations from 2016 to 2024, according to a review of Federal Election Commission filings by Dominic Rapney, cybersecurity company CEO and former Connecticut Republican candidate for office. Curious about the donation patterns, Rapney tracked down some of the Connecticut residents and asked them if they really did make thousands of small donations, sometimes multiple in a day, through ActBlue. The article continues to read, several of the supposed donors told Rapney they did not make any of the reported donations, nor did they know anything about how their names were being used, Rapney told the the Daily Signal. Here's one example here, but there's a few examples that we're going to get into. And also ActBlue tries to give a little bit of an explanation of why and how this could be, but none of it adds up. It's all sounds like nonsense to me. It all sounds like just a lot of funny money going on. An 88-year-old retired Yale University professor, for example, supposedly made, get this, 7,539 donations for a total of $213,163, according to FEC records. After Apney informed him about the significant donations in his name, he signed an affidavit saying, "I believe this does not reflect my donation frequency or dollars I have donated," according to Rapney, who has analyzed numbers for 3 decades in the tech industry. This is a possible case of alleged identity theft and money laundering. A contribution made by one person in the name of another is illegal. And I quote, "When I examined the donation patterns tied to these alleged Smurfs, the irregularities jump off the page, revealing behavior that defies both human logic and common sense," he told the Daily Signal. The safeguard trust in our election process, to safeguard trust in our election process, we must confront these anomalies head on. Look at some of these other examples. And then also, I cannot wait to get into the excuses from ActBlue, right? A 91-year-old woman appears to have made 2,591 donations, totaling $41,000, according to FEC filings. She signed an affidavit with Rapney denying making the reported donations. Another 75-year-old woman looks to have made 4,270 small donations, adding up to $32,323. She too signed an affidavit with Rapney denying making the donations in this frequency or quantity. ActBlue is currently under congressional investigation, Papa Anaya Shelley, for alleged laundering of foreign money laundering. I'm going to read that one more time. I feel like I read that wrong. ActBlue is currently under congressional investigation for alleged laundering of foreign money laundering. Okay. ActBlue came under fire on October 29th before its donor verification policies. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. Check this out. ActBlue came under fire on October 29th because of its donor verification policies. In a letter that day to ActBlue, Steele said foreign actors from Iran, Russia, Venezuela, and China could use the platform to launder illicit money for use in U.S. political campaigns. Get this. The Democratic fundraising platform admitted in 2023 to Steele that it did not require contributors to use a card verification value or CVV to donate on its site with a credit card. That is crazy. Those security codes are meant to ensure that the person making a purchase physically possess the credit card. The CVV, obviously, we all know this. The CVV is what's in the back of your debit card or credit card, that 3-digit number. It's essentially a 3-digit PIN. When is the last time you made a purchase online and you paid with your credit card or debit card and you didn't have to put in the little 3-digit CVV number? You have to do that literally every time, unless your credit card or debit card is already saved to said platform like an Amazon. If it's already saved on Amazon, then you don't have to do it. And then you have some platforms, if I remember correctly, with YouTube, when you send a super chat, even though your information may already be saved, your debit or credit card, for verification purposes, sometimes they'll still ask you, okay, we got that all your information is here, but what's the CVV number? Put that 3-digit number that's in the back of your card in the field right now. The fact that you don't need that, these type of verification processes to donate on ActBlue, you can just grab a credit card, grab a debit card, whatever kind it may be, and just let the money fly. It is crazy. Somebody please help me understand, what is it with DNC lunatics and verification? They're against voter ID. They're against the SAVE Act, where you have to physically prove, through the proper documentation, that you're actually a citizen of the United States before you can register to vote. On their website, ActBlue, they have critical verification processes not within ActBlue's processing system that you would need to verify that the person is who they say that they are and that they have the card in their possession before you can donate. What is it with Democrats and verification? Identifying who you are and proving that you are who you say you are. I find that extremely interesting because that is wild. They are anti-identification on every level. But I digress. Let's carry on. ActBlue responded to the Daily Signal's request for comment about the affidavits by referring the Daily Signal to a post on its blog, which says, here comes the nonsense, because of how reporting works for intermediaries, contributions made on platforms like ours often show up more than once in public FEC records, because both ActBlue and the receiving campaign or committee must report contributions. So you're telling me you reported the contributions of a 91-year-old woman 2,591 times? Or that of a 75-year-old woman 4,270 times? And if that sounds ridiculous, it gets a lot worse. It doesn't even get, I shouldn't say it gets worse. That's an understatement. This is just stupid as it pertains to, as it pertains to itemization, right? And keeping records. Listen to what I'm getting ready to tell you here. FEC rules require ActBlue to itemize every contribution made through its platform, regardless of amount, the post says. Okay, now here's where stupid comes in. Additionally, FEC reports often lump multiple donors in the same name together. The post continues. This can make it difficult to easily identify which contributions should be associated with each individual donor, especially donors with common names. Hold on, wait a minute. You're telling me the FEC reports often lump multiple donors under the same name together? So is the FEC in on it too? These are valid questions. So you're telling me these people, the FEC essentially, to a large degree or to some degree, when investigating themselves, they could be covering up for themselves? Because how are you lumping in multiple donations of people who have the same name all in one category underneath that name? Listen how stupid this sounds and how crazy this is, right? So let's go back to this 75-year-old woman. Let's say her name is Dorothy Smith. And apparently she made 4,270 small donations. ActBlue is telling me, if this is true, that the FEC will take the name Dorothy Smith. And if there's 10,000 other Dorothy Smiths who donated, they will lump all of them up under the one name of Dorothy Smith, and then you'll just see 5,000 some odd donations that seemingly come from the same Dorothy C. Smith. How does that make any sense? Either ActBlue is lying or the FEC is on BS too. It's one or the other. So now, as we're going to get into Jasmine Crockett being investigated by the FEC, as it pertains to investigations, it makes you wonder now why certain things don't come to fruition the way they're supposed to. Because that just sounds crazy. 5,000 people named Dorothy Smith donated to ActBlue, and we're just going to lump them all under that same one name of Dorothy Smith. You're not going to itemate this Dorothy Smith, from Chicago, Illinois. Well, this is Dorothy Smith from Los Angeles. You get what I'm saying? Los Angeles, California. They all just go under Dorothy Smith. That sounds crazy to me. That sounds crazy. And yeah, Papa, when I tell you, somebody lying. Somebody's lying. Either the FEC is funny style or ActBlue is lying on the FEC. I'm not really sure what's what at this point. But what I do know also is that these funny style practices that's going on with ActBlue, particularly as it concerns taking advantage of the elderly, Jasmine Crockett appears to have been caught in the snares of that also concerning her campaign funds. And now here's where we get into Jasmine Crockett. The Federal Election Commission opened an investigation into firebrand Representative Jasmine Crockett, Democrat from Texas, regarding donations to her 2024 campaign made through ActBlue, a Democrat fundraising powerhouse organization. The Coolidge-Reagan Foundation, a conservative advocacy group, made the FEC complaint on March 26, as first reported by the Daily Signal. On April 2nd, the FEC notified the Coolidge-Reagan Foundation it would review the matter and notify Crockett. The respondents, and I quote, will be notified of this complaint within 5 business days. Wanda D. Brown, the FEC Assistant General Counsel for Complaints, Examinations, and Legal Administration, said in the letter. Brown wrote the letter to Dan Backer, a Washington lawyer representing the Coolidge Reagan Foundation. The FEC opened an investigation. There is a process, but they are investigating, Backer told the Daily Signal. The complaints reference a specific suspect donor report. The complaints reference a specific suspect donor reported to have given 53 separate donations totaling $595 to Crockett's campaign through the ActBlue portal. The suspect donor was once again a 73-year-old Texas resident named Randy Best, according to the FEC complaints. So as you can see, this is something that's a pattern that's continuously developing, where we're seeing this happen with the elderly. I find it interesting how Democrats love talking about, what do they love saying? They're going to cut Medicare, they're going to cut Social Security, right? They're going to take money out of your grandma's pocket. And it looks like they're not the only one taking money out of grandma's pocket, right? You know, they keep saying that that's what Trump is going to do, but it looks like they're already doing it, right? They're the ones that's taking money out of grandpa's pocket. They're the ones taking money out of grandma's pocket while pushing that over to Trump, saying that he's going to do something that he already told you 1,000 times that he's not doing. Just something that's worth pointing out, the way that they seem to be the one taking advantage of the elderly people. Once again, as I used to always say pre-election, the people who complain and cry about we got to save democracy the most are the greatest violators of democracy. Democrats and the DNC, they love telling us how they're going to get rid of Medicaid, they're going to get rid of Social Security, and your grandma's not going to be able to eat anymore. Your grandma's not going to be able to afford her prescription medicine anymore. Meanwhile, they appear to be the ones who allegedly, I assume, appear to be taking money consistently from the elderly. Because really think about this too before I carry on, because it's hitting me right now. If this was just some sort of a issue concerning just itemizing these donations poorly, right? Just poor record keeping. If this was just simply an issue of poor record keeping, why is it consistently happening to the elderly, right? That's my question that I'm curious about. If this is just about poor record keeping, then how come it's not all the way around? It's not only elderly people who donate to ActBlue, it's people of all ages. But how come it's the elderly that seem to keep getting hit with these fraudulent donations? Just a question. I don't know. Hopefully we'll find the answer to that. Let's get back into the article. I'm going to take it from here, where I have it highlighted in blue, where it gave the age of the man, Randy Best, right? The suspect donor was 73-year-old Texas resident named Randy Best, according to the FEC complaint. However, Best's wife, in a video prompted by one of Crockett's opponents for 2026, Sheldon Daniels, denied knowing anything about the donations. The complaint contends this possibly means Best and potentially other donors through ActBlue did not make the donations listed under their names. So for those of you who don't know, Sheldon was kind of really the first person that broke this on social media, and it went viral. I want to play some of this video here. I just want to play the portion of his video that he uploaded when he went to the elderly couple's house, right? Because he talks for about 2 minutes prior to that. But we don't really have to get into all of that. You know, he's more so just kind of talking about himself. And should I play the whole thing? I'll probably play the whole thing. It's only 4 minutes, right? Just for context sake. So I think I'll do that. So let me go ahead and drag this down for a second. And while I'm pulling that up, please make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and also follow me on Telegram. But please hit that like button if you haven't already. And let me pull this video up for you guys. Yeah, I'll just play the whole thing.
All right, guys. So I'm about to go to Randy Best's house, introduce myself, and just ask them straight up if they contributed to Jasmine's campaign, if they contributed that amount, and why they like her so much, because I might be able to learn a little bit of something while I'm up here. I'm way up here in Collin County. I'm in Plano, Texas. Very far from TX30. It's very peculiar that somebody up here would give that much money to a candidate in our district. Maybe they have a special connection to the district. Let's go find out. I'm not gonna film them. I'm not gonna put any faces or anything on there. I'm just gonna have my camera down at the ground. I'm gonna be standing in a public, area in open air. I'm just, recording what's going on around me. Let's see what happens. All right, here's the house. Here's the house right here. Here we go. How do you do, ma'am?
No soliciting.
I'm not here. I'm not a solicitor. I'm attorney Sheldon Daniels.
Okay.
Is there a Randy Best who lives here?
That's my husband.
Yeah.
Give me just a second. Let me turn this. I'm sorry, just in case. I want to make sure you guys can hear this clearly, because her, obviously, since he's pointing the camera at the ground and not on her, her voice is a little low. So I want to make sure you guys can hear this.
How do you do, ma'am?
No soliciting.
I'm not here. I'm not a solicitor. I'm attorney Sheldon Daniels.
Okay.
Is there a Randy Best who lives here?
That's my husband.
Yeah. I just want to verify. Are you guys aware that you were charged over $16,000 last year? Yeah.
What?
I have a list of charges. I'm just here to verify that you guys know about this.
16,000.
16.
It wasn't 16,000. It was $595. That was a misread by Sheldon. That was a misread. It's $595, and he corrected that in a tweet after the fact.
$1,240 in political contributions to a candidate named Jasmine Crockett. Do you remember that at all? Does your husband remember that at all?
I don't know. He's on the road on his way to Colorado.
Okay. It says here that he's not employed. Is he employed now?
No, we're retired.
Okay. I can leave this with you if you want. It's got your information on it.
Yeah, you can just leave it on the table.
Yes, ma'am. You mind if I take a picture?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so I just drove by the home of this Randy Best guy. This guy, he's a 73-year-old retiree, unemployed. He and his wife, I guess they just travel around in an RV or something. I don't know. But he's on the road. His wife answered the door. She said that they had no idea what these charges were. And they had no idea that they were charged $16,000, or that they are responsible for $16,000 in political contributions to Jasmine.
Once again, I got to make the correction for him. It's $595, and he did correct that later on.
Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, she has them listed as political contributors. Now, mind you, I'm way up here in Plano. I'm in a totally different county. I'm in Collin County right now. The only reason why I'm even able to do this is because I practice law all over North Texas, and I drive all over, so I know North Texas very well. Collin County, Dallas County, Tarrant County, Denton County, Grayson County. A lot of shady stuff going on with Jasmine Crockett, and I see why she was doing all this, because she's trying to distract from the corruption. I wonder how deep it goes.
Me too. I wonder too. And I also wonder to what degree is the FEC actually in bed with ActBlue concerning, what we read earlier, as it pertains to how they, itemized donations in a way that didn't make any sense. Where they were taught, where ActBlue claimed that the FEC, if there's more than one, you know, beauty with brains, shout out to Beauty, I got your name right this time. If there's more than one beauty with brains that donated to ActBlue, let's just say 5,000 people with the name Beauty with Brains that donated to ActBlue, apparently they'll just categorize all those donations under that one name, not have them individualized with Beauty with Brains Chicago, Illinois, Beauty with Brains from Los Angeles, Beauty with Brains from this. No. They just have them all under one name with apparently 5,000 separate donations that seemingly come from one person. That doesn't make any sense. Somebody's lying. I don't know if ActBlue is lying on the FEC. I don't know if the FEC is playing games and then want to turn around and try to investigate people why they themselves are shady. I don't know. We don't know how deep the corruption actually runs. But hopefully at some point we can get down to the bottom of this, right? So now let's get back into this article here and round things out as we get closer to bringing this stream to a close. So I'm going to pull this back up on the screen for you guys right now. And please smash that like button if you haven't already. Okay. So the article continues to read. The bigger picture is that Crockett's campaign received about $870,000 in total donations through ActBlue. The Coolidge Reagan Foundation's FEC complaint says that includes the $595 recorded from Best, who lives in Plano, Texas. So there is a possibility, a strong possibility, if you ask me, especially if we're going back and considering, the first article that we read here concerning how elderly people apparently are getting scammed in this way. What's his name? Randy Best and his wife, they may not be the only one. That $595 that, according to his wife and the family, like, we don't know anything about this. That might not be the only amount of money that's within this $870,000. Representative Jasmine Crockett, through her principal campaign committee respondent, Jasmine for US, has received thousands of other donations through ActBlue, totaling over $870,000. The FEC complaint says it is unclear how many of these are similarly fraudulent transactions made in the name of unsuspecting innocent people who did not actually provide funds. The next step is for the respondent, Crockett, to have 15 days to respond to the allegations. The FEC historically grants extensions of 30 to 60 days, Baker said. The Daily Signal reached out to Crockett's congressional office, Crockett's campaign, and ActBlue with email inquiries. None responded. That's not surprising though, right? Of course, nobody's saying anything. Everybody's keeping it, no snitching. And as we bring this article and this stream to a close, an FEC spokesperson told the Daily Signal that the agency cannot comment on pending cases until the matter is resolved. I think we can all understand that. It could be a reasonable defense for Representative Crockett and other Democrats to say, we didn't solicit those donations. They all came from ActBlue, Backer said in an interview. But that would be willful blindness. So essentially, that would be Jasmine Crockett and other DNC lunatics. That would be their get out of jail free pass, saying, hey, we didn't solicit those donations. I don't know anything about that. That's ActBlue who did it. At the end of the day, they might just go ahead and just point their finger at ActBlue. I don't know anything about it. But once again, that's willful blindness. And the article goes on to read it in closing, and I quote, the problem is legally, the campaign committee treasurer is responsible for due diligence. Backer continued. The treasurer could say, we had absolute confidence in ActBlue, But ActBlue has been under investigation by state and federal authorities. That excuse might have worked a year ago. So it's looking like at this point, the fraudulent activity is piling up a little bit too much and a little too high. And with all these investigations going on, you could say willful blindness on all sides, whether it be from Crockett, whether it be from the treasurer of ActBlue, that may not pass anymore, right? That may not pass anymore just because the fraudulent activity is too much. It's too much. And they've been under investigation essentially for too long. We'll just have to see if these investigations actually turn into anything. And that's the problem, right? Going back to the top of the stream, if you were here from the very beginning with Papa Onaya Shelley, right? A lot of investigations going on. Nobody getting charged yet. We understand, or at least I understand, the need to kind of slow roll things, you know? I understand the need to slow roll things, especially when you're underneath, a huge microscope concerning DNC mainstream media that are dying for you to fumble just so they could run that story 1,000,001 times over and pretend like you're the one that's doing something wrong or crazy. But at some point, man, somebody's got to go to jail. There's got to be charges. These investigations can't keep coming about and like nothing happens. And once again, I'm particularly interested now concerning this investigation with what the FEC is doing. If we're going back to ActBlue's excuses, and I'm going to read this once again in closing, right? ActBlue gave a bunch of excuses, or a few excuses as to why it appears you have people like this 91-year-old woman who made 2,591 donations totaling to $41,000. How can one woman, a 91-year-old woman, make 2,591 donations totaling to $41,000? Well, here's one of the excuses from ActBlue. I'll give you both of the excuses. Number one, they said because of how reporting works, the intermediaries' contributions made on platforms like ours often show up more than once in public FEC records because both ActBlue and the receiving campaign or committee must report contributions. So you're telling me that you reported the same contribution from this 91-year-old woman 2,591 times? I don't think so. I highly doubt you reported a single contribution from one woman 2,591 times. That's just stupid and beyond unbelievable. But then ActBlue passed the buck over to the FEC, claiming this. Additionally, FEC reports often lump multiple donors in the same name together. The post continues. This can make it difficult to easily identify which contributions should be associated with each individual donor, especially donors with common names. That's just stupid. That makes if that's true, that's what the FEC is doing, then as far as I'm concerned, that's corrupt too, because that literally makes no sense. That defies logic, that level of stupidity. That you're going to lump everybody with the same name just underneath that one name to where you can't identify who's who, where they're from, nothing. Everybody's just, Rob Smith. That's it. And now you got 5,000 alleged donations that seemingly came from this one person, Rob Smith. But no. There's no funny business going on. That's just how we keep record. If you have the same name, we'll just categorize you all under that one name with no specifications of who you are, of the age, where they're from, the city, state, any type of verification as it pertains to ID. None of that. That doesn't make sense, man. It appears that we're just kind of drowning in corruption. We're drowning in corruption, man. And hopefully this time around, I don't know, Trump can actually drain the swamp. We will see. We will see. But that's to be continued. And with all that being said, that does it for today's stream. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today, man. Please smash that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. And don't forget, most importantly, I can't beg you guys enough, please follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram's in the description box below. It'll be pinned in the comment section once the stream ends. That is very critical and important to keep us connected. You'll always get your notifications, like Papa Onaya Shelley, the man of the hour today. I've name dropped him like 10 times. You'll always get your notifications, and you don't have to worry about YouTube unsubscribing you and all that other foolishness. All right. So with that, let me get into the contributions that you guys showed me, right? And I deeply appreciate. And I want to do that right now because, like I said, I don't exist without you guys' support. So thank you very much. Cynthia Haynes said, bro, thank you for uncovering certain news issues that NBC, CNN, and etc. will never cover too. Knowledge is the key. I appreciate you, Cynthia Haynes. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's what I'm here for, to bring these, stories to the forefront, where these other news organizations will not do it and refuse to do it. Roots Tracker by Yaria. I appreciate you. 24 months of service. She said, prison time. I'm right there with you. We need some prison time handed out, man. These investigations are cool. And, you got to have an investigation for you just can't lock people up, right? And send them away. Unless they're verified terrorists, MS-13, right? A train de Agua. And you got to go. But outside of that, if you're a U.S. citizen, that's not a designated terrorist, then yes, you deserve your due process. TDA or train de Agua. Yeah, I don't know about all that. You got a home in Gitmo waiting for you before you get sent to what's it called, CCOT in El Salvador. You got to just get out of here, right? But yeah, I need that prison time to come down too. We need some prison time. Shout out to my man Benton Jr. Bay, who said, "Good job with interviewing Sheldon, bro." I appreciate that. Yeah, man, he's a good guy. I really enjoyed the interview that me and him had, and hopefully I can get him back on again. I hope I can get him back on again to answer a few other questions that I do have. I wasn't able to get to everything. I wanted to respect his time, but it was a good conversation that me and him had, and I look forward to having him back on the show. But thank you once again, Ben Jr. Bay. Shout out to Papa Onaya Shelley for gifting out a channel membership. Thank you so much, bro, for doing that, for that support. And shout out to the Geek Surgeon. Donations. Prison time. Exactly. We need prison time. But if it's any comfort, I mean, at least we know that at least for now, those folks that have been burning down and shooting up Tesla dealerships, they're definitely getting their 20 years. Those ones they're definitely getting their 20 years. So it's not like nobody's getting prison time. Like, there's technically they're in the process of having their due process, but they're all on video, so it's over. So folks are getting locked up, and they're getting charged. But I know what we all want. We want to see these high-ranking officials, right? It's cool, people that are doing stuff, the common man and woman engaging in foolishness, engaging in acts that could definitely be considered terrorism. Yeah, they do need to be charged and locked up, and that is happening. But we all want the high-level ranking officials and politicians that are engaging in corruption to face that same fate, because it's just. And I'm right there with you guys. And hopefully we get the ball rolling on that soon. But until then, thank you guys for joining me today, man. Please smash that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And once again, don't forget, please, Telegram. Follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram's in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.